Well, hello, folks. I'm glad you're here. Um, I have a really strong. Oh, by the way, my tooth thing is much, much better. So I don't know, less swollen than it was the last video. That was miserable, man. You get that pain up here in your upper jaw, it's just terrible. It wasn't a big deal, easily sorted out. So I'm happy now. And it's just in time for the Lusitano horse show in Caldastrenia, which I love and go to every year. I grew up around horses and I love going to horse shows. I love horses. I don't own any, but I love them. Um, yeah, so I feel better, so I'm going to enjoy that festival. It started yesterday and it goes through the weekend here, so very happy about that. I want to make a very strong book recommendation to everybody. This is one that I really, really hope people will read. Uh, and I hope that the few people who watch this video will share this recommendation, if not the video, with people because this book is extremely helpful and honest and profound and challenging. And I think it's something that it's a perspective and understanding of the world as a whole, systemically, that is extremely important for everyone to understand today because of the challenges we faced today and on into the future. Um, we simply need to have a different way of evaluating things, more comprehensive, more holistic, more systemic, taking into account a broader range of domains of interest and science and understanding and so on. And we need this to expand around the world, across cultures, so that we can begin to collaborate as a human species in solving serious problems that we face. The business as usual model isn't going to work. It's unfortunately doomed. Uh, it will collapse one way or another, one day or another. And the only way to prevent the worst of all possible collapse experiences is to educate ourselves and to learn how to understand the reality of our predicaments, our cascading uh, tipping points, and the feedback loops involved with all of it. From many points of view, including human psychology, sociology, politics, but in particular science, systems, and so on. It's something that's so vital right now. I can't, who am I to try to convince anybody of it? But if you've done the reading I have over the decades, you can't not see that we need perspectives like this. Uh, it's incredibly important. So anyway, uh, so the author's name is Vanessa Machado de Oliveira, and she is of mixed racial and cultural heritage, German and indigenous Brazilian and others. And she grew up in a difficult situation in a part of the world where things aren't easy necessarily. let her explain her experience to you. The introduction of the book is very beautiful. Um, if you can listen to that somewhere, it'd be great, or read it somewhere. But she's often on the YouTube and being interviewed by people, including people like Nate Hagens. So you can become familiar with her through those podcasts or videos. So she published this book in 2021. It's called Hospicing Modernity. And just using the word hospice as a verb in this context, with next to the word modernity, might rub some people the wrong way, because we all love modernity. We're all addicted to modernity. We all grew up embedded in modernity, and it's something nobody wants to give up, right? So it's kind of scary. The title, hospicing, what do you mean? Uh, you know what I mean? We talk about metastatic modernity all the time. And, this is, people ask me, what does metastatic mean? And you talk about cancer and so on. People think you're nuts because, they've read Steven Pinker and others, and they know that progress is a straight line to the future, and things always get better if we just fight the bad guys, the regressive people, the reactionaries, the conservatives, the whatever wings, fanatics, religious fanaticism, whatever it is. Things will only get better because we're really a superior being in the universe, better than everything else in the universe. We invented God. We went to the moon. We send satellites out into space. We landed robots on Mars. We have smartphones and YouTube. We're just the coolest thing in the universe. Not only are we supreme as a being, as Homo sapiens sapiens, but we are better, supreme, because I'm a white male from America, born in the 50s, and I'm educated, and I grew up middle class. So I had a pathway to wealth and fame and fortune. I failed, but whatever. Um, and so I am North. I'm democratic. I'm a weird guy, Western, industrial, educated, blah, blah, blah. And so I can take that supremacy right down to me, myself, and I, just how charming and beautiful and funny and great and handsome and lovely and smart I am. I'm supreme. I'm better than most people. That's the difference between you and me. I'm just a little bit brighter and better than you. You can take this supremacy wherever you want to take it, but we're better than everything else, right? And then you can move across the Pacific and you can have a Chinese supremacy and Russian supremacy and victimhood supremacy. You can go all over the place. But anyway, we're above and beyond nature. We're separated from it. We control it. It's ours to use as we wish for progress and so on. Steven Pinker, we had the Enlightenment, for God's sake. We had the scientific revolution, the Industrial Revolution. We learned how to settle and grow crops. We built incredible tools. Our world is highly complex, which is amazing. It's just a fundamental aspect of our genius, our incredible, innovative potential, and so on and so forth. You've heard it all before. And most of us believe in these narratives. There's stories, but a lot of the stories have a great deal of evidence to support them. I get on airplanes, I use computers, and so on. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. I wanted to take you through this PDF as a teaser to the book. And so I'll probably break this video up into a few parts, or I'll just put it all up in one and you can go through it at your leisure. Take your time. It's difficult to watch videos that are an hour long. I realize that. And sometimes, uh, you know, parts of videos can be quite boring, so on. But I hope you'll stick with this one because I really believe in it. And I think it's important. And I really value this woman's work. And so I want to share it with you. Let me put on my glasses. So the first table is called Circular Patterns. All right, so the first piece here, slide or whatever, page of the PDF is Circular Patterns. So she's kind of letting us know where we're at right now at the moment in our global culture. And this is important to understand, is that we understand a lot from looking at history and lines of evidence from the past about how civilizations collapse, crash and burn, disappear. But this is the first time in our history that civilizational collapse will be global. And it's going to be a much more horrific collapse than we've ever experienced. It will not be local. It will be non-local, distributed, dispersed across the world, and no one is immune to it. The billionaires will not be safe. Everybody's going to get hit by it, just like everybody can get hit by a pandemic, a virus, or some other pandemic. You're not immune. So think about that. And the ways in which we can destroy ourselves and make life uncomfortable are more horrific, not to mention just painful psychologically and physically, because modern people are all addicted to modern technology. When the lights go out, you're really upset about it because you can't look at your phone every 10 minutes if you run out of battery. You can't charge it, or you can't look at your computer or use the lights and all that kind of stuff. And the subways and electric trains stop and the elevators stop and you get stuck in them and whatever. So recently in Iberian Peninsula had a big power outage and the cities were really hard hit. I'm in the countryside. I have backup, so it didn't bother me much. I just went down to the corner store and had some beers with my neighbors, which, and the lights went back on. Thank God it wasn't a big terrorist attack or whatever. And they got the lights back on within 12 hours or something where I am. Maybe it was 16, I think, where I am. It took 16 hours to come back on, which is good. And we got juice now, but you can't take it for granted. So once the juice goes, what are you going to do? And it probably will go for a lot of people in the near future. So maybe not you if you're old like me, but for your children, grandchildren. I'm sorry, I just know that's going to happen. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist weirdo, believe it or not. So circular patterns, table 1. Continuity is the first one. And it says, seeking the perpetuation and perhaps expansion of the existing system and its promised securities, certainties, and entitlements. I love the choice of words: security, certainty, entitlement. This pattern leads people to approach change in conditional ways, wherein they calculate the perceived benefits of change against potential losses and generally do not make choices or renounce choice in ways that compromise their own futurity or position of advantage, e.g., I want to transcend colonialism without giving anything up. There are trade offs. I'm also learning because I was biased against conservative critiques of modernity, progress, and so on. Uh, and I'm realizing that there are different ways to look at modernity and progress. And it's, the conservative side is just like we got to go back to this. I don't know, define it as you will, patriarchal, traditional hierarchy, blah blah blah, and take care of our own, and so on and so forth, and never change because our traditions are more important. Whatever. I mean, there's different ways to talk about it, but modernity and tradition and all that kind of stuff in this context is quite different, as you'll learn when you start reading people like her. So approach conditional ways. Conditional is interesting word as well. And you just don't want to give anything up, right? And also that tends to make you feel like, hey, look, the sins of the past, of the fathers, has nothing to do with me. All of those things, colonialism, imperialism, it's over now, you know. You can go to Moscow and Beijing and have a McDonald's cheeseburger, despite all the drums of war and all that stuff. But, it's not that simple. So innocence is the second one, positioning oneself outside complicity in violence, often because of one's stated commitment to be against violence. Hey, man, I'm against violence. I'm the nicest guy you'll ever see, kind of thing. But I'm not going to say anything about what's going on in the Middle East because, it's not my problem. And if I do, I'll be, uh, you know, blackballed. I'll get in trouble or whatever. So we just, somebody says systemic violence or systemic racism or systemic something. People write it off. Come on, man, that's an exaggeration. You give me a break. But actually, there are degrees and elements of systemic in everything, systemic and structural. So you can't just write that off. This pattern erases how our implication and harm is largely the product of our structural positions within harmful systems and our learned unconscious habits of being, rather than a product of active intellectual choices to hurt others, e.g., because I say that I am against violent systems, that means I am no longer complicit in them. So we have to understand what complicity means, right? If you don't, as Chris Hedges often asserts, fight fascism because it's fascism, just because it's fascism, you're somehow complicit in it. And I tend to agree with that because none of us, myself included, do enough to fight against these things. We're afraid of losing. We have fear of loss aversion, right? Because I might lose income, I might lose a job, I might lose a friend, I might lose some followers on Facebook, whatever it is. I might lose my life. I might lose my freedom if I push back against these things. And so there's reasons to fear. But if enough of us don't fight back, there will always be reasons to fear because we won't have freedom. We won't have choice. We won't have agency. We won't have license or liberty. And we won't be able to do anything. We'll be hopeless, powerless. And, nobody wants to live that way. If you live that way long enough, you will be so desperate that you'll do anything, including lose your life, to fight back. We don't want to go there, do we? We don't want it to get that bad. The next one is recentering, privileging the feelings, experiences, and perspectives of oneself and or the majority group, nation, etc., rather than looking at systemic dynamics of inequality and violence, and discerning from there the actions needed to work towards developing healthier possibilities for coexistence. How will this change affect me, make me feel better? And you've heard me say many times, teasingly, about me evangelicals, spiritual or religious people who you can tell by the way they talk about their religious experience that it's all about them. It's all about me. I'm a me evangelical. God loves me. Jesus is my friend. He tells me what's right, or he does it through my preacher, and so on and so forth. So you're only concerned about the bottom line, the next quarter, how it affects you, your NIMBY, and so on. You want to keep, stay centered in that. So anyway, so certainty, this is a big one for me, right? A lot of my friends who disagree with my worldview are very certain that they're right. And, I've developed certainty, a certain amount of certainty in my worldview over time, but it's changed all along the way and it keeps changing. So I know that it's going to change. I know that I'm going to update my priors. I know that I'm going to learn something new every day. I know that I'm pretty ignorant. So, yeah, okay, virtue signal, a bit of epistemic humility within my ontology, and that keeps growing and changing too, right? So, anyway, desiring and demanding fixed, totalizing knowledge, simple and simple and guaranteed answers to complex problems and predeterminable outcomes before taking action. I just read this book and I wish I'd read it years ago when it came out because it's so good. And I find myself echoing her messages a lot over the last, let's say, 6 years. And I'm always just so happy. I can't tell you. I guess you can understand. When I find somebody else that seems to have learned from life some of the lessons I've learned along the way, and just feeling like I got a friend out there, even though we've never met or talked or whatever. My kind of people. And I wonder if I would have thought she was my kind of people back in 1921, but I'm pretty damn sure I would have. And I would have learned from her earlier. This pattern denies that all knowledge is situated and contextually rather than universally relevant, and that all solutions are partial, imperfect, and may either reproduce the problems they seek to address or create new ones. E.g., I deserve to know exactly what's going to happen, when, where, and how. So my friends are fairly dogmatic and defensive of their positions. And they seem to know it all. They understand, their worldview is well-founded and so on. And so many people go on the intertubes and whatnot to have some expert or intellectual influencer tell them what to think. Just tell me the answer. I'm sorry to pick on Jordan Peterson, but people like this who are very, good, emphatic speakers, very rhetorically adept, all these people I followed out of curiosity, intellectual influencers, gurus, if you want to say that, are very assertive, very good at telling you or appearing to know the truth, right? Ben Shapiro, people like that. There's so many of them. And I guess to have an audience, you have to be assertive. You have to come off as knowing what you're talking about. Otherwise, people just won't listen, right? They want to know the truth. You want to read an article that tells you the truth so that you know what to think. It's better to learn how to think, right? To learn how to fish if you want to eat. to learn how to swim if you want to survive. But, you know, learning how to think requires a lot of work and constant discipline. You don't just become a critical thinker overnight. You practice critical thinking skills all the time. And you recognize that you're biased and that your heuristics might be not, very good or whatever. And you think things through, you slow down. You don't let the emotion lead. You feel, and you have intuitions, but you question them. You have to have reflexivity. And I've said that over and over in my videos, that we need to be critical of ourselves, our best critics. So anyway, I deserve to know exactly what's going to happen, when, where, and how. That's just not the way things work in reality. So next one is unrestricted autonomy, placing primacy on one's free choice and independence at the expense of honoring interdependence and responsibility. Further, this pattern envisions responsibility as an intellectual choice, often based on a cost-benefit, utility maximizing analysis rather than a visceral pull to do what is needed in order to maintain respectful, reciprocal relationships based on trust and consent. So I can stop now if you want me to. Are you comfortable moving forward with this? And you give a person a choice, right? Honoring interdependence and responsibility. Who's responsible? In the U.S. leadership fabric, people are not responsible because they're bullshitters, because they bullshit constantly. That's not responsible behavior. And again, utilitarianism or whatever, as it's critiqued by far right or right wing people, they criticize utilitarianism in a certain kind of way. And as you study these things from various perspectives, you'll start to learn that these things are treated differently depending on your orientation, your values, and your worldview. And I'm beginning to understand how utilitarianism or utility maximizing isn't necessarily the best thing all the time in every situation. So anyhow, I just love it so much. I am not accountable to anybody but myself unless I choose to be. So, this idea that you're an individual and you choose, I choose to this, I choose to that, The Secret, whatever, things like that, that's just magical thinking. You have an illusion of sovereignty at that level. It's not reality. There are too many things playing on you, influencing you, that have influenced you. And these things are psychophysical. They're both internal and external and can't be ignored or minimized, because all of that plays into your behavior from one nanosecond to another throughout your life. Of course, if you're very dogmatic and set in your ways, maybe you can maintain a certain character for decades, stubbornly. And lots of people do that. It doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean they understand how the world works or even themselves, but they can pull it off. Much drama has been written about these types of characters. The next one is leadership, and this is huge because I don't see leadership. That's why when I talk to reactionary friends, I say, from where, from what pool are you going to get the enlightened leaders that you seem romantically attached to from the past, right? Where are these people? Where do they come from? Who are they? And I would say that, the hillbilly dude who went to Yale is not one of them. No matter how articulate he is, or assertive he is, or educated he is, he's not a responsible leader. And he's fairly ignorant of a lot of things and can't admit it. And the ultimate apocalypse, witness to unveiling of ignorance of people like that, is when they think they're always right, or when they think they're not ignorant, when they think they don't have holes in their understanding of the way the world works. All of us do. They have no humility, and they feign humility, and they package it in religion and other moral codes, but they don't embody it. There's no real character there. And I think they're shallow, and I don't think we should put trust in them. So leadership, framing oneself or another person or community as uniquely worthy and deserving of the power to determine the type, mode, and direction of change. And just think of that: type, mode, and direction of change. Who has the power to do that? You would have to have a collective, broad, massive cultural movement to have any agency over mode, direction of change. And to do that, you would really have to be fairly wise. You'd have to have a wise contingent of influencers and leaders within your groups who understood how the world works. And I'm talking biology, physics, human nature, culture, things like that. So this pattern positions the exceptional person or group above critique and outside of complexity, thereby imposing unrealistic expectations that make it difficult to acknowledge the complexities and the good, the bad, the ugly, and the broken in everyone. Because all of us and every group, culture, society has good, bad, ugly, and broken in it. And if you don't think so, then you're just deluded. You're wrong. So anyhow, e.g., either I or the person or group I designate is sorry, there's a dash there. Either I or the person or group I designate is exceptionally qualified and entitled to direct and determine the character of change. My people know what's necessary, know what changes. The funny thing is that all these people, these my people who know what changes are necessary, never make any changes. What goes around comes around. It's just another cycle. It repeats itself. It's a deja vu all over again. It's insanity. I keep asking my friends who are into like conventional politics, what the fuck good comes from it? Pardon my language. We're still fighting. Nothing's been sorted out. It's all competition. It's all rapaciousness. It's all warfare, violence, not all of it. You walk around, it's peaceful here. I'm exaggerating a bit, but it's still there. Why are we fighting the same fights over and over again, decade after decade, century after century, if we're doing things right? If modern techno-industrial civilization is all that, if modernity is all that. I'm not saying, and I don't agree with some people who think that we have to become hunter-gatherers again. I'm just saying we have to pay attention to what scale does to people. And if we're going to follow a degrowth model or some other way of getting to a better place, we're going to have to think things through very, very carefully. And we're going to have to work in concert with each other, networked across nation states. And I really do believe that a lot of us aren't going to survive into the next century. And you can say, never mind, I'm on the Titanic, I'm having a good time. They say the nightclub's going to be open for another 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years, whatever it is. You know, imagine you can predict the future. So I'm just going to have fun. And by the way, I like the attention. I like the power. I like my things. I like my toys. So, you know, F off. Idiot, tree hugger, goofball. That's fine. Lots of people like that. But I guarantee reality is something you can't argue with. Nature is something you can't defeat because you are nature. You're part and parcel of the whole living system in which we find ourselves because we're lucky to be alive. Lucky to be humans, I guess. But humans suffer. They suffer more than any other creature, I think. I'm not going to say that whales suffering or cats suffering is any less bad than human suffering, but we suffer like nothing else that we know in life. So I want to go through the EGs one more time and then I'll stop. 37 minutes, my God. I want to transcend colonialism without giving anything up. Because I say I am against violent systems, that means I'm no longer complicit in them. How will this change affect me, make me feel? I deserve to know exactly what is going to happen, when, where, and how. I am not accountable for anyone but myself unless I choose to be. Either I or the person or group I designate is exceptionally qualified and entitled to direct and determine the character of change. So I would say the United States of of America believes wholeheartedly that it's the greatest empire ever, and that if people don't want to, conform to its rules, they're going to be in trouble. And I think the greatest existential threat life on Earth is facing right now is this insanity that emanates from a historically extremely violent culture, the United States of America. And I'm American, and I've traveled across America many times, and I've worked in several American cities, and I have tons of American friends. So I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm just saying the way it operates in the world is not good, and it has to change. And I'm hoping that Americans will inspire that change. So if you're an American, please read this book. See how it might broaden or deepen or make more compassionate your point of view. So I'll end it on that page because it's already almost 40 minutes. And I hope you have a great weekend. I'm going to go to the horse show and enjoy my horses. So take good care, and I'll see you next time. If you found this interesting, please share it because I believe in the content here very much so. Click like and comment in the comment section because I'd love to hear from you. One thing that will help us more than anything moving forward is intimacy, making friends, being friendly, getting closer, upgrading our understanding of how things are, being more embedded in our place within our communities, just getting closer to how things are in our lives and being able to open up and share and be intimate. Okay, bye-bye. Bully MT, out.